Good morning. Welcome to another day and headed toward the end of the week and a busy next couple of weeks. Just a quick prayer request if you think to pray for next week. Our Pastor Myers, our friends at Pacific Baptist in Long Beach, have a big youth conference. There'll be hundreds of teenagers gathering there in their new auditorium, and we'll have some young people going Monday and Tuesday. And then the following week, Monday to Friday, actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is our junior camp for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And then Monday to Friday is our teen camp for 9th through 12th graders, 7th through 12th graders. And so busy 2 weeks for young people. And of course, that means for our workers. And then just a note of praise. And I know some people keep up on news better than me, but we've asked for prayer for Pastor Doug Fisher down at Lighthouse Baptist in Lemon Grove. And he was in his pulpit, not to preach, but he was in his pulpit to talk to his members a little bit Sunday, the 4th of July, just for a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or a little more with his wife. And he was speaking clearly, obviously thinking clearly, joking a little bit. And so I hope you'll keep praying for Pastor Fisher. Just a few years older than me, Vietnam vet, and went into the ministry just because they needed someone to fill the pulpit. And he filled the pulpit and preached a little bit and then preached a little more, and they asked him to stay. And pretty soon he's been 30 plus years in his church. I'm going to say about 35 years. He was not long after us when he took the pulpit down there. But I hope you'll continue to pray for his family and for he and his wife especially. Great, great people and good friends of ours over these years. I wanted to also mention, I just was going to read a quick thing about, out of this is a book. We've got a bunch of these in our bookstore, and I bought a box of them just to keep around. It's not a big book, but it's called Should I by Dr. Jim Jorgensen. He's the president of Commonwealth Baptist College in Lexington, Kentucky. Brother Jorgensen's been a friend of mine for decades. He helped oversee the administration when I was in college under Dr. Jack Howell's ministry. He helped Dr. Jack Trieber start his college there, Golden State Baptist in Santa Clara. And then now for many years, he's worked with Pastor Jeff Fugit, and he spent his life in Christian education. A very, very educated man, yet a simple man in his ability to communicate. Well, this book is just questions about personal do's and don'ts. Should I or shouldn't I? And I pulled a chapter here I want to mention just a few things. And this is probably not a big deal to most of you. Most of you probably know or think this way, but sometimes we don't have the reasons. And this is a chapter on the Christian and alcohol, just drinking booze. And he says, I'm just going to read you the chapter, the points in this chapter on the Christian and booze. Reasons a child of God should avoid drinking alcoholic beverages. Number one, I don't want to disobey a Bible command. Proverbs 23:21. Look not thou upon the wine when it's red, when it giveth its color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. Again, Habakkuk 2:15. Woe to him that giveth his neighbor drink, and on and on. There's about 6 or 8 verses here. So there are Bible verses that say, stay away from booze. Don't even look at it. Number 2, I don't want to develop an appetite that has no proper fulfillment. And that's a great statement. I shouldn't begin to create a taste for something that is going to get me to have an appetite for something that could harm me or be harmful to others. And we'll get to the others actually in a minute. But well, how many of us know people's lives have been ruined through booze? And it just goes on and on. So we should decide we don't want to develop any appetites that are unhealthy. And he talks about this, gives plenty of Bible verses. The statement number 3, I don't want to do anything that will impair my ability to serve God by weakening my health or diminishing my faculties. And everybody knows that booze deteriorates your mind, and too much drinking will deteriorate your body and just your ability to do what God wants you to do. One of the verses in Proverbs, I don't know if he mentions it or not, says, give strong drink to him that is of a heavy heart. The guy's dying, he's in pain. That's what booze is for. It's a narcotic. It's a painkiller. They didn't have, the things we have today. And, give drink to somebody who's hopeless, somebody who's got no hope. And then there's the warning in Proverbs 30, I believe it is. It says, it's not for kings, O Lemuel. It's not for kings to drink strong wine, lest it mess your ability to judge the poor. And the mother is warning her son, if you're going to be a man of influence, you can't drink, because booze is going to mess your ability up to be just. And he goes on. There's several things here, and a lot of Bible verses. And then number 4, I don't want to support financially those who are fighting God. You think Budweiser cares about God? You think Coors cares about God? Or you go to Kentucky and the bourbon is everywhere. Kentucky bourbon is so famous. And you think that industry is pro-Jesus and lifting up the Word of God in Sunday school? I don't think so. And I don't want to finance things that are against God. Another one, I don't want to be a friend of Satan instead of a friend of God. And I shouldn't be getting myself involved in something that Satan has used to destroy so many people's lives. How many homes have been ruined? And the tool the devil used to ruin the home was a bottle. Another one, number 6, I don't want to do anything that would have the appearance of evil. Of course, the Bible says that we should abstain from all appearances of evil. And I remember walking out of a liquor store one day. I was out of town and doing a funeral far, far away, and I just wanted something to drink. There was no store anywhere but a little liquor store, and I went there and went and got a Coke or whatever kind of soda, and they just dropped it in a bag. And I walk out the door with this paper bag, and I looked at it, and I looked at the liquor store, and I real quick pulled the bag off, so at least if anybody saw me that knew me, they knew it was soda. And I think people would assume I'm not drinking liquor, but I don't want to appear to be drinking liquor. I don't want to, and drinking liquor, just, my wife was at a little bit surprised. She was in a situation, she was speaking at a conference out of town, far from here, a ladies' conference, and the pastors' wives got together to go to eat somewhere, and they went to this Mexican restaurant. And at the restaurant, the ladies ordered margaritas without the alcohol. And I don't know what's in a margarita, but the waitress came. There are these reverse pyramid shaped cups with salt on the rim. And so the whole table of ladies had these except my wife. My wife wasn't about to have one of those glasses. She said, I was so embarrassed. We were at a restaurant, and who knows how many people from the conference might have been there, or people from that church that might have known them were at that restaurant. And all these ladies looked like, now they weren't drinking booze, but they looked like they were drinking booze. And my wife was just aghast. She was just so shocked that these preachers' wives who are speaking at this conference would give the appearance. But there are a lot of people who drink liquor and say, well, I do it with moderation. I don't get drunk and I don't abuse my spouse or whatever. And but no one else knows that. No one has any idea whether you're going to have 1 or 6 or a dozen. One of our ladies made something, I forget what it was, and she needed something alcoholic. And she's trying to figure out how she'd get to I think it was homemade vanilla. I think that's what it was, whatever. And she said it was such a problem figuring out how to go buy what I needed to make this without giving the appearance that I'm a booze drinker. But anyway, so I don't want to appear. I like that. Number 7, I don't want to do anything that would go against my conscience. I don't want to do anything that would go against my conscience. And there's more in there on it, but if your conscience, Romans 14:23 says that whatsoever is not of faith is sin. In other words, in the context, if you are feeling guilty about it, you can't do it. You just can't do it. It's not right. And you may be able to do something I can't. I may be able to do something you can't, but we're not supposed to go against our conscience. That is the Spirit of God inside us nudging us. We have no idea what child is going to pick up drinking, and you and I might be able to do it casually, but our child follows suit and they have some weakness, and they become drunks at the expense of their future. And we chose the liberty that we have, that we can do this and still be Christians, and we can. And what a sad thing that we might condemn our children. But anyway, just a word or two about That's a good book. And if you like to pick up a book like that, I don't know, there may be $5 in the bookstore or something, or I think I've got some in the office if you come by the office sometime, but it's got all kinds of things in it. And I encourage you to read. Shut the tube off and read. And this book talks about the purpose of separation. It talks about alcohol, drugs, Christian and music, dancing, gambling, your appearances, movies, just all sorts of things. And just stuff, basically, should I do these things? And you know, it's funny, if someone has to ask, should I do it? They probably shouldn't. They probably know better. But anyway, I'm in the book of Proverbs. And again, want to encourage you, let's be in church. Be in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. If you want God's help, you want strength in the Christian life, you can't eat once a week and be strong. And the more church you get, the better. The more Bible you get, the better. It's just healthy. We're enjoying a Bible study in the book of Acts, a little more in depth than normal. But I thought we could do that this summer. It'll be good for us. And I know some of you are vacationing, or you're going to vacation. Don't feel bad. I hope you take some time off. Last Wednesday, I was gone. Our family was in Big Bear. My son and his family, my daughter and her family, we all were up in Big Bear. And I hope you do goof off some with your family, especially if you have children at home. But if you got grandkids, spend money on them. But when you can be in church, don't sit home not going to church. And let's make the church, your presence helps that church. You go into a building that seats 100 and there's 5 people there, that's not a help. I don't care if there's 90 people home who love that church, no one knows they love it. And some visitor walks in and you go to a restaurant and you look around, there's no one there, and you get wondering about the quality of the food or the sanitation or whatever. And church is that way. Boy, people walk in, see a church busy, bodies everywhere, people talking and fellowship, and it makes a difference. And so your presence does matter. All right, let's look at a verse or two of Proverbs, just because we're looking at some of these verses, and I want you to find the book of Proverbs with me. And Proverbs is so filled with principles. I mean, over and over and over. Work, money, your speech, your relationships to men and women. It just goes on and on and on. So many, I have symbols that go along with it. But look first at Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 17. Proverbs 21 and verse 17, if you find that, it says, "He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man, and he that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich." And so there's just a lesson on people who just go for pleasure, the fun thing, they live that way, or those who chase after booze. And it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you financially, and how very careful we should be when it comes to our relationship to liquor. And what a mess. Look over to Proverbs 23. Proverbs 23, verse 29. "Who hath woe, who hath sorrow, who hath contentions, who hath babblings, who hath redness of eyes, who hath wounds without cause, who hath redness of eyes, they that tarry long at wine, they that go to seek mixed wine. Look not upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth its color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder." Oh, liquor, such a tragedy when people get involved in booze. But the next verse, "Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thy heart shall utter perverse things," and on and on. And just liquor, such a tragedy. And I just wanted to comment, and I don't talk a lot about it because I don't think it's a big deal in our church, but I thought it would just be a good thing if I just made it clear I'm against booze. I've always been against booze, gonna be against booze, look, it's wrong. It's wrong. I hate liquor. Liquor's broken up more marriages. Liquor has caused more good ladies to be slapped around by out of control husbands. And of course, liquor's broken the heart of the drinker as they did things they shouldn't have done. And then when they sober up, they realize how wrong they've been. How many blurry-eyed people have been in a car accident? How many people on the road are hurt because of drunk-related driving? How much poverty has come because of people spending money on booze when kids could have used that money, or the money could have been given to the Lord's work, or money spent on the spouse or your marriage. Oh, what a tragedy. And booze is expensive. Years ago, they taxed things. They called them sin tax. And cigarettes and booze, they had taxes on them because they were a sin. Can you believe in America that called drinking and smoking sin? And yet they did. They called it a sin tax. But look over at Proverbs 31. I mentioned this earlier, just off the top of my head. But this is the words of King Lemuel, the prophecy his mother taught him. So here's the king, and he's remembering some things his mother taught him. Let me just stop for a minute. Let's hear it from moms who teach their kids. Let's teach our kids that's what's wrong with booze. Let's teach our kids. And moms, you're home more, most of you. And if not, whoever's home, whoever has time, ought to be teaching their kids. Don't drink liquor, don't smoke, don't use drugs, don't run off with people, keep your marriage vows, all those things. Such a big thing. She says, verse 3, give not thy strength to women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. So letting a lady mislead you to off into wrong can destroy your ministry as a king. Verse 4, it's not for kings to mule, it's not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. We should not drink because we need a sober mind to make good choices, to make good decisions. Now, what about booze? Of course, I said earlier, this is a day we're talking about 500 years before Christ, and this is a difficult time of culture and all, and they didn't have doctors and things like we do. And so he says in that next verse 6, give strong drink to him that is ready to perish. Guy's dying, give him some booze to numb him up a little bit. Wine to those that be of heavy heart. If you're hopeless, you're sick, you're dying, it's a medicine. And we need to be very, very guarded about this thing of booze. And I realize most of you don't drink, but I just want you to know the Bible talks plenty about it. You just think about the first time I remember I talk about first mention often. And off the top of my head, without looking it up, first time I remember booze being mentioned in the Bible was Lot. Noah got off the ark, planted some grapes, made booze, and got drunk. And a tragedy followed in his house because of booze. And now there might have been liquor before that. And if I think some more, I might, as soon as I finish this recording, I might think of another one. But that's the first time in my mind liquor's brought up in the Bible. And like I said, it could be others. But I just want you to know liquor, we should, number one, back your pastor. If you go to another church and he mentions booze, you say amen. We don't need to be beer drinking, wine sipping Baptists, all right? If the Presbyterians who sprinkle babies and don't witness and don't live separated lives, or the Methodists or Congregationalists, they want to drink their booze, fine. We don't use alcoholic wine in our communion cups. And we don't, if you're a teacher or leader in our ministry, you can't drink ever. You got to just say, I practice abstinence. I do not drink. And if you can go to our church, you can have a fridge full of beer if you go to our church. We welcome everybody. And then our goal is to see you converted and surrender everything, including your refrigerator. It's a sad thing to me how often I've seen some Christian, and I don't doubt their salvation, fighting for their right to be casual drinkers, while one of their children or their spouse is wrestling with liquor as an alcoholic. And I think, how selfish, how selfish. If my wife had a problem with booze, there wouldn't be booze in our house. She'd never see me drink it. She'd never smell it on my breath. If one of my children had a problem with liquor, I wouldn't ever want to have it around. And yet people fight for their right. We are a selfish world. And there's times I like to go to people and say, what is wrong with you? You're the most selfish, self-centered Christian, but it's not my job to judge anybody. Certainly not my job to go into people's world and rebuke them. I can do it from the pulpit. That is my job. But once I get out of the pulpit, that's not my business, and I don't, and I wouldn't. But I want to encourage you, let's keep a good, healthy hatred for liquor. The wrong done by liquor is just, there's no way measuring it. It's no way measuring it. The evil that's done. And I hope you'll make your home a home of abstinence, a home of purity in every way possible. And again, if you want to pick up one of those books, Brother Jorgensen, go look in our bookstore if there's none there. send me a message. I'll find one for you. Hey, hope you have a great day. Good last night. We had a great last night at church. Wednesday night Bible study is great. I know we have a lot of people on vacation. Last week, I think we had 5 staff families on vacation. And this week we've got people vacationing, and I'm glad for them. But as soon as you're off vacation, let's get back in church, be in choir, be in soul winning, teach your Sunday school class, work nursery. Let's be in our place. And if you would pray for this Sunday, as long as everything goes well, we'll be back in the jails for the first time this Sunday. And of course, our rest homes, we've got several rest home services going every week now. Pray as we get the gospel out to the world. We want to see people saved. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.